Lyra awoke to the soft glow of dawn breaking over the desert. The cold had crept into the tent during the night, but she felt warmer than she had in a long time. Ethan had left a small fire burning outside, and the faint smell of roasted grains and herbs reminded her that she was not entirely alone. For the first time, she did not feel fear pressing down on her chest. She felt something new, possibility. Ethan stirred beside the fire, already awake. His gaze met hers and he smiled gently. "Morning," he said. "We should get moving soon. The desert can be cruel even in daylight, but there are areas with water and shelter a short walk from here. I want to show you a few safe routes." Lyra nodded, her throat still dry but her energy slowly returning. She dressed quickly, tying her hair back to keep it out of her face. As they stepped outside, the sun rose higher, painting the sand with soft gold and orange hues. The desert no longer seemed like a prison, at least not entirely. With Ethan by her side, it became a place of learning, of discovery, of survival beyond fear. They walked together, moving carefully over the uneven sands. Ethan showed her how to identify safe plants, how to conserve energy, and how to avoid the desert's hidden dangers. Lyra absorbed everything, her mind sharpening with each lesson. Her instinct for survival, honed from years of being ostracized, blended with Ethan's calm expertise. She realized that she was not just surviving anymore, she was learning to thrive. As the hours passed, Lyra began to speak more openly about her life. She told Ethan about her village, about the rules that dictated who could drink water, eat, or even enter certain areas. She told him about the pure families who lived comfortably while others like her were left to fend for themselves. She spoke about the shame, the whispers, and the long days of solitude. Ethan listened quietly, never interrupting, never judging. When she paused, he asked simple questions that made her think deeper. "Do you think they fear you?" he asked at one point. Lyra considered it. "Not fear. They just see me as less, a burden, something that should not exist." Ethan shook his head. "That is not strength. That is weakness in their thinking. True strength is what you are showing me, surviving, continuing, and seeking hope even when everyone turns away." His words resonated with her in ways she could not immediately explain. Strength. She had always believed her value was determined by others. But now she felt a seed of belief that maybe her worth did not come from their approval. Maybe her courage, her mind, and her heart mattered more than the rules that bound her. By midday, the sun was intense, but Ethan led her to a hidden canyon. A small stream trickled through it, enough to refill their flasks and provide a place to rest. Lyra drank deeply, savoring each sip. She watched Ethan observe the water carefully, noting its clarity and ensuring it was safe. It struck her how humans paid attention to the small details, respecting life rather than assuming they owned it. Sitting beside him, Lyra found herself asking a question she had never dared voice before. Why do you help me? You don't even know me. Humans, they are strangers, sometimes cruel. You could leave me here." Ethan's eyes softened. "Because kindness is not about knowing someone or fearing them. It is about recognizing another being's need and acting. You needed water, and you needed someone to believe in you, even a little. That is all the reason I need." Lyra's chest tightened. No one in her village had ever spoken to her like that. She had always been defined by what she lacked, not by what she could do. But Ethan had shown her something different, a perspective that valued life itself regardless of arbitrary labels. Over the next days, they traveled together. Lyra learned to navigate the desert more confidently, using landmarks, the sun, and subtle cues in the sand. She discovered that her body, honed by years of struggle, was strong, agile, and capable of feats she had never dared attempt. She could climb dunes with ease, find hidden water sources, and even sense small changes in the wind that signaled approaching storms. Ethan watched her closely, impressed by her abilities. "You have survived much worse than I ever imagined," he said one afternoon, shading his eyes as he looked at her. "Most of my people would not last a day in this environment without training. Yet you do it naturally." Lyra smiled faintly, a mixture of pride and disbelief. "I had no choice," she admitted. They left me no choice but to survive." Their journey eventually brought them near the outskirts of Lyra's home village. From a distance, she could see the familiar shapes of buildings and watchtowers, the people moving like ants below. A strange mix of fear and determination filled her. She realized she could not ignore what she had left behind. Her people had denied her, but now she had something they could not understand: knowledge, confidence, and the courage to act. Ethan noticed her change in demeanor. "You're thinking about them," he said gently. "Are you ready to face them?" Lyra looked at him. "I think I must. Not just for me. For the others who suffer silently." Ethan nodded. "Then let's be careful, but show them what true strength looks like." As they approached the village, they found that rumors had already begun to spread. Some villagers stared openly, whispering about the human aiding the impure alien. Guards approached cautiously, weapons lowered but eyes narrowed. Lyra felt her pulse quicken. She had faced disdain before, but now she had someone by her side who treated her as equal. That changed everything. The situation escalated quickly. One guard stepped forward, demanding to know why a human was interfering in their laws. Ethan spoke calmly, explaining that his purpose was to explore and observe, not to challenge them. But his mere presence and the sight of Lyra standing tall beside him began to unsettle the crowd. Lyra stepped forward herself, feeling the power of her own voice. "I am Lyra," she said, clear and steady. "You call me impure. You deny me water. You judge me for who I am. But I am strong. I survive. And I'm not alone." Her words hung in the air. A few villagers whispered in surprise. Others looked ashamed. Some guards tightened their grip on weapons, unsure how to respond to a human and an alien, defying their rules with nothing more than courage and truth. Ethan stayed close, silently giving her support. He did not speak over her, did not overshadow her presence. He let her shine, and that gave Lyra more confidence than she had ever felt. She realized that she had not been powerless all these years. She had simply never been given a reason to believe in herself. The turning point came when a sandstorm began to form in the distance. It moved quickly, threatening the village with heavy wind and sand. Lyra immediately took action. She instructed villagers on how to protect children and the elderly, showing them how to cover water supplies and secure shelters. Ethan assisted, guiding her hands and helping reinforce weak structures. Together they worked tirelessly, earning the attention and respect of people who had only ever looked down on her. By the time the storm passed, the village was mostly unharmed. Lyra stood among them, exhausted but proud. The same people who had called her impure now looked at her with cautious admiration. She had not just survived, she had saved lives. And in that moment she understood the power of courage, knowledge, and kindness. As night fell, Lyra and Ethan returned to a quiet spot outside the village. The stars stretched endlessly above them, and the desert seemed at peace. Lyra turned to him, gratitude shining in her eyes. You believed in me when no one else would." "I will never forget that," Ethan smiled softly. "And you showed me what real courage looks like. Not just surviving, but helping others survive. Even when the world tells you that you shouldn't." Lyra nodded, feeling something she had never felt before: pride, hope, and the certainty that her life could be different. She had been called impure, denied water, and cast aside. But through one act of kindness and the courage to act, she had begun to change her world. Together they watched the desert, silent but connected. The stars reflected in Lyra's eyes, and for the first time she could imagine a future where she was not defined by fear or cruelty. She had learned that strength was not just in survival, it was in hope, compassion, and the courage to stand tall against injustice. And somewhere deep in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. The sky above the small alien settlement was a dull, sickly gray. Dust swirled through the cold wind, carrying the faint, bitter smell of decay. Lyra and Kyle huddled together under the broken remains of what had once been a shelter, their thin bodies shivering in the harsh air. Their large eyes, the color of molten silver, reflected both fear and hunger. They had not eaten properly in days, and the last small meal they had shared was barely enough to keep their strength from completely leaving them. The twins' world, Loria, had changed. Once lush forests and clear rivers had turned into barren land, poisoned by a strange, creeping parasite that had attacked the soil. The few crops that survived were shriveled and inedible. The adults of the settlement tried their best, but their energy was fading, and hope was quickly becoming a memory. Children were the worst affected. Lyra and Kale had watched their friends weaken and disappear one by one, and each loss weighed heavily on their young hearts. They often whispered to each other, sharing fears they could not voice to anyone else. Kyle, Do you think we will make it? Lyra asked softly, her voice trembling. Cale hugged her small shoulders, trying to appear braver than he felt. I don't know, Lyra, but we have each other. That has to count for something. They pulled their thin cloaks tighter around themselves, wrapping their arms around one another for warmth and comfort. Outside, the wind howled across the broken ruins of their settlement. The twins had learned to move quietly, avoiding the scavengers that sometimes roamed the area. They had grown clever in small ways, hiding scraps of food from stronger members of the colony and learning how to drink from the poisoned rivers without getting sick. But survival was a constant struggle, and today their stomachs protested louder than ever. On the horizon, a faint glimmer caught Cale's sharp eyes. He squinted against the gray light. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. A small craft descended slowly, kicking up dust as it landed near the edge of the settlement. The twins watched in fear and curiosity. The ship was sleek, metallic, and clearly not made by anyone in their world. Lyra gripped Cale's arm. What is it? Another threat? Cale shook his head. I don't know, but we need to see. Maybe it can help us. The twins moved cautiously, keeping low as they approached. From inside the ship, a hatch opened, and a figure stepped out. The human looked strange to their eyes. Tall, broad-shouldered, with skin the color of the twins' pale silver moonlight reflections. His eyes were kind and observant, scanning the area as if he were searching for something or someone. The human held no weapons in sight. Instead, he carried a small pack and a device that beeped softly. He seemed gentle, almost fragile compared to the harsh environment around him. But there was a determination in his step. The twins froze, unsure if they should run or approach. The human noticed movement and slowly lowered his pack, keeping his hands visible. I'd see you, he said softly. His voice was calm, not commanding. It carried a tone of understanding. Cale and Lyra exchanged nervous glances. They had never heard such words before, and though they did not understand fully, the tone conveyed a message they recognized. He was not here to harm them. Slowly, the twins stepped closer, their curiosity overpowering fear. The human knelt slightly to reduce his size and opened his pack. From it came packets filled with a strange, glowing food. Cale's eyes widened. The smell was unfamiliar, but it was rich and nourishing. Lyra's stomach growled involuntarily, and she took a small step forward. The human held out a packet toward them. I have food. You can eat, he said again, this time pointing gently to indicate the offer. The twins hesitated, unsure. Trust was hard-earned in a world where hunger often meant betrayal. But desperation won. Lyra reached out, trembling, and took the packet. Cale followed, his hand shaking as he touched the smooth material. They tore it open carefully. The smell made their stomachs twist with longing. They ate slowly, each bite melting their exhaustion away. Their eyes brightened for the first time in days. The human watched patiently, a small smile forming on his face. You saved us? Kyle asked, his voice weak but curious. The human shook his head. I don't know yet, but I want to help. Can you tell me what happened here? Over the next few hours, the twins shared everything. They told him about the famine, the dying crops, and the strange parasite that had spread through the soil. They spoke about their family and friends, about the empty nests and broken homes, about the nights when the wind carried only silence. The human listened closely, asking questions and nodding, never interrupting. My name is Alex, he said finally after hearing their story. I travel the stars to help where I can. I think I might be able to help you too. Cale and Lyra looked at each other in surprise. The word help was almost foreign to them in the past weeks. They had grown used to survival alone, to hiding and conserving. The idea of someone actively helping them was almost too much to imagine. As evening fell, Alex set up a small device near the twins' shelter. It emitted a soft blue light and a gentle hum. Lyra watched, fascinated, as tiny droplets of clean water formed near the base. Alex explained, in simple gestures and broken translations, that the device could purify the water and make it safe to drink. The twins drank eagerly, feeling energy return to their limbs. For the first time in days, Lyra laughed, a small, bright sound that seemed almost impossible in such a desolate world. Cale smiled, feeling warmth spread through him that had nothing to do with food. For a moment, the harsh wind seemed less cruel, the gray sky a little lighter. Alex looked at them thoughtfully. He knew this was only the beginning. The soil, the crops, the parasite, these were much bigger problems than two children could solve alone. But for now, he had given them hope. That hope was stronger than hunger, stronger than fear, and stronger than despair. Over the next few days, Alex taught the twins how to help him gather samples of the soil. He showed them small techniques to protect their fragile bodies while they worked. Lyra and Kale were eager to learn, their minds opening to possibilities they had never considered. Even the smallest task, like mixing a powdered solution to test the soil, felt like a step toward survival. Meanwhile, the adults of the settlement watched from a distance. They were cautious, unsure if this human could be trusted. Some whispered that he might be dangerous, that humans were unpredictable. But the twins' improved health, their laughter, and their new energy slowly convinced the elders that Alex meant no harm. One evening, as the three of them worked under the fading light, Alex noticed a pattern in the soil. The parasite thrived in certain areas, leaving behind dead patches and sterile ground. He explained to the twins, using gestures and drawings in the dirt, that the problem was not just hunger, it was survival itself. The soil had to be cleansed, the parasite removed, and the crops restored. Kyle looked at the drawings, trying to understand. Can we do it?" he asked, voice small but determined. Alex nodded. "Yes, but it will take time, and you both will help. Together we can fix it." Lyra and Kale felt a surge of hope stronger than any hunger pang. For the first time, they believed they could not only survive but help restore their home. Alex had brought more than food. He had brought knowledge, courage, and belief. That night, as the wind howled outside, the twins slept side by side, no longer trembling from hunger, but from anticipation. The human had changed their lives, shown them that even in a world where survival seemed impossible, there was still hope. And for the first time, they dreamed of a future where their planet could thrive again. Alex stayed awake for hours, gazing at the sky filled with unfamiliar stars. He knew the road ahead would be dangerous. The parasite was relentless and the planet harsh. But the determination in the twins' eyes gave him strength. He had faced many challenges across the stars, but none had been as personal, as urgent as this. When dawn came, it brought with it a fragile promise. The twins were stronger, their spirits lighter, and Alex, for the first time in many lonely years of travel, felt something he had almost forgotten: connection. The bond he had formed with these alien children was rare, unspoken, but unbreakable. Together they would face the challenges of Loria, fight the hunger, and perhaps even restore life to a dying world. The twins did not yet know how, but they understood one thing clearly: this human had changed everything. And for the first time they believed that maybe, just maybe, they could survive.